All right, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the 9 Years Podcast, episode 239, which, and I'm going to check my phone to check the date, is arriving on the 15th of January, Friday the 15th of January. Little timestamp there, potentially. I'm Nick Draper, joined by the face of the BBC Sport website, Mr. Stuart Deakins. And before we get into our Wimbledon-related chat this week, how's everyone doing? Let us know. Tweet us at 9YRS Podcast. Email us 9YRS@may14.co.uk. How are you getting on with life at the minute? It's hard. It is a really, really difficult time. Lockdown, a lot of people not at work, spending their days inside, all the affiliated mental health problems that can bring. And is football providing an outlet for you, or is it not? Be very interested to hear. I know we talked about this at length last week. We want to hear what you're thinking. Share with us your feelings on the subject, Stu. I know we keep talking about it. We won't go into depth on it this week, but yep. Football is continuing. There are some interesting decisions or conversations being had about football continuing. We were just talking about a couple before we started recording. Let's briefly mention FA Youth Cup being suspended for pandemic reasons. Doesn't seem to make much sense when other football is allowed to continue. Is it to do with testing regimes or something like that?
Yeah, it's interesting. Is just the fact that the FA Youth Cup, which is a shame in a way, because obviously it was a couple of days before our game against Burnley at Plough Lane, so that would have been a nice. I'm sure the players are looking forward to that. But yeah, I like you. I looked at it and thought, we know the children don't tend to catch COVID, so we're suspending that. But we know that the older age group can. So I just being nosy is, I suppose decision-wise, it's because it doesn't really hold that much money-wise, is it? It's about development rather than money, which seems to be the decision that everyone's making at the moment.
The other interesting one was the conversation about players celebrating.
Yeah.
The news and the newspapers have been questioning this one. Should footballers be allowed to celebrate? It seems a moo point. It's like a cow's opinion, a moo point, because if they're on the field of play and they're tackling and they're full contact at set pieces and everything else that goes with it, then what difference does it make if they're going to celebrate a goal? I don't get it.
You sort of wondering away from a product point of view, because the Premiership, let's be fair, is a product. It's sold around the world. Well, part of the idea of celebrating a goal is to make it entertaining. So at the moment, you've got no crowds, so you can't get no atmosphere. You now can't celebrate. You've now got VAR that will disallow a goal if it's anywhere near offside. So what's left? It's a shell of a game, isn't it? And as I was saying to you, it's about visual. The actual report said that the Premier League and that they don't want to be seen, or players to be seen celebrating and handshaking. But what they're in the physio room, dressing room, they're on coaches to games, travelling across the country. So I don't think they're allowed to fly. I might be wrong on that, but if they're flying, they're even in a more dangerous situation. It just feels it feels a point that's just laughable. And as I've said to you before, the morality of it all, and should footballers be playing? No, they shouldn't be playing. It's not enjoyable either.
For me, as I said last week, it's just the unfairness of it in terms of other sectors that don't get the benefits of being able to continue, whereas football does, and football is doing so for no other reason than television contracts, and no one can dissuade me or convince me otherwise, unfortunately. Hey, I'm always open to a conversation with different points of view, but on this one, if there is an argument, if anyone can present an argument to me that there is that the priority for keeping football going is not television income revenue, then please bring it to me and we'll see what we can do. But I think it'll be very, very difficult to find me agreeing with you, because that is what it is. And they've got to try and keep their inflated salaries for all their inflated ego players in the top flight at the elite level. But as I said, we won't go too much into that now. Yeah. Just interesting, Stu, you said about the flights and whether players can fly to games. I'm not sure. I don't think they can, but it reminded me of some great wisdom that I was once passed down to me when I was very young. And it's one thing I always remember being told. It's always stayed with me. And I must have been told this before I'd hit double figures in age. So quite a while ago. On the news, you never hear about the airplanes that don't crash. I'm just going to leave people with that nugget of wisdom, and they can do with that and interpret that however they wish. But that is correct. We never hear about the planes that make it safely from A to B. We only ever hear about the ones that crash.
It's a good point, because it's not news, is it? It's not exciting news.
No, but it's very relevant. It's very relevant news when someone's trying to decide whether they should, if they're a bit scared of flying because they're worried it'd be crash, well, play the numbers game.
Yeah. And it also reminds me, obviously we interviewed the players last week, and if you go on a coach, you can have peanut chicken after the game, or you can have crumpets.
Crumpets. This was on our Friday night lockdown show with, and I check myself at this point to make sure I don't forget anyone, but with Alex Woodyard, Anthony Hartigan, Ethan Chislett, Jack Rudoni, who we'll come on to in a second, not literally, Ollie Palmer and Joe Pigott. And Ollie Palmer was explaining that crumpets are very popular amongst the first team squad. I will be doing my big shop, my weekly big shop. Actually, today, as you're listening to this, on Friday is going to be my weekly big shop day, and I will be making a mental note, crumpets, because they are. Do you know they're a forgotten treasure? Just layer that butter on the top, nicely toasted, seeping through, beautiful. Put something on top, maybe a bit of Marmite.
They're great. I must admit, I did say to my wife, as she looked at the peanut chicken recipe, and I was chatting to, but by the way, I was actually chatting to Trev Williams, who's obviously with the kit, and I was like, he said peanut chicken is lovely, but it's more of a sauce, apparently. It's not, I didn't understand it. I was like, do you open up the chicken and chuck the peanut inside it? That sort of side of it. I don't know. But no, apparently it's the sauce. It's a very nice sauce, but also Trev said he very likes it. But of course, they were also mentioning that the Papa John's is a bit of a, what did Joe Pigott say? Bit of a, not a farce, but basically you don't get a pizza for winning, do you? You don't. No Papa John pizzas come your way. It's still Domino's. So of course you won another game and still no more pizza. Do you get a pizza if you win a competition?
Probably get a lifetime supply of Papa John's pizza. Potentially. I mean, I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
No.
I will say nothing. Other brands of pizza are available. Peanut chicken, whatever you do not shove your peanuts inside those chickens. That would just not be of any use whatsoever. I do actually have a recipe for peanut chicken, though, Stu, actually. I did get one prepared for you. Yes, I've got it here on my phone. You can see it on Zoom, but of course the listeners can't because this is an audio-only podcast. Ingredients: peanuts, chicken. Done. That's all you need.
Is that it?
Yeah, peanuts and chicken.
Can't just be that. How are you going to make a sauce out of
juices? The juices come out. Don't worry. When you're frying it, all of it, the juices come out. I've also got a recipe for chicken and rice. If you want that one.
Yeah.
I might save that for another day. Actually.
I tell you what I do. I'm gonna message Joe Pigott and I'm gonna ask them to video someone eating peanut chicken, so we know what it is. We know what peanut chicken looks like. It could be, cook with Joe. It could be like that. It could be
with Joe.
Cook with Joe. In this time of no entertainment, the cookery program for Joe Pigott.
I want to just make sure I've got this correct before I make this appalling joke. But I'm not going to make that joke because it does have another meaning, the word I was going to use, and it would not be appropriate for our audience to listen. And that's why I was checking it. So moving swiftly on, let us move swiftly on. A call out and a shout out. A call out going this week to, as I just mentioned there, Jack Rudoni. We're not going to focus on the competition itself that we played in on Tuesday evening because reasons. But we did win a game away at Bristol Rovers in that competition, and the winning goal was scored by Jack Rudoni, which I believe was his first goal at quote-unquote senior level. So just a shout-out to Jack. I saw him get praise on Twitter from his mum, and it must be said, my word, do they look... The apple doesn't fall far from the tree in terms of looks, let's just put it that way. He has definitely got the appearance of his mother, which I suppose is reassuring. But yeah, congratulations, Jack, for your first goal.
And do you know what we did say about the celebrations? I was actually really disappointed because I spoke to him about celebrations. He said he had something lined up. Well, if that's what is lined up, don't practice. Keep practicing.
Saving it for a proper game.
I was thinking that. But it was a bit of a naff celebration. But you know what? I'm really pleased he got his goal because he deserved a goal. He's got a lot of assists. And I felt we said this before. You can see improvements nearly every game. You can see improvements in his performances, his confidence levels. He's going to go from strength to strength. I've got no doubt about that.
There is another reason why we don't want to delve too deeply into the progress in that competition, and we'll come on to it very, very shortly. It's to do with something else that happened on Tuesday evening. However, first, a shout-out. No, we've done a shout-out. Did I say a call-out? I don't know. I think I might have given Jack Rodona a call-out. I might have got this. Oh, dear. That's showing my my old age there. No, that was a shout-out to Jack Rodoni. My call-out is so random. Needs a little bit of explanation. We're all remote learning. We're working from home, or most people are working from home. I've been in school, but a lot of people aren't. And shout out, by the way, another shout out this week to the primary school teachers that do have to be on the site for the duration of this remote learning period. And they're doing everything from site at school. And it's very, very difficult, especially when you've got key worker children and everything. So they're doing an incredible job right now. All teachers are right now, because actually, you won't believe this, teachers' workloads, which were ridiculous to begin with, everything takes so much longer now. You're trying to do remote learning. So the hours are there's just no spare time in the day. So shout out to everyone. Where was I going with this one? So yes, remote learning, lots of Google Meets going on. We use Google Meets in our school. So lots and lots of those going on different times of day. And sometimes you'll get ready and you'll sit down and you get your laptop and you're a little bit early, a couple of minutes early, so you're waiting for other people to arrive. So I've just taken to killing the time whilst I'm waiting by playing a little bit of online Tetris, which is a really, really geeky thing. But also, it's just because I can just put it on and just be mindlessly doing that whilst I'm waiting. It just occupies a few seconds. Tetris, these two little pieces, they call them the S piece and the Z piece. They've got like two squares and then two squares underneath. Oh, can we get rid of them? They are the most irritating, useless piece of Tetris pieces. I don't want to swear because I'll be swearing at Nick, you're shouting at Tetris. But ridiculous. Can we get rid of them, please? What is the point of those pieces? This has really irritated me.
To make it harder for you.
But why do we need two of them? Why do we need two sets of them? Can we not just have the Z or the S? Why do we need both? Like when you're getting close to the top, right? You're coming very close. And these things keep coming one after another. No, these are of no use to me. They're I need, you know what I need, as most of us do? I just need a long one. When we get to the top, it's all about those long ones.
It's all about a long break, isn't it? Do you know what? I tell you about funny stories, actually, about when being on Google Meets. We use WebEx for my company. So we were waiting for we had a smart meter put in today for our electricity. So we were waiting for a guy. We thought it was him. Door went. And my wife, I've got a manager, I've got all my other team leaders on this call. My wife shouts out, 1 second, I'm just doing my son's bum.
Brilliant.
And everybody heard. You know, sometimes you can't get to that mute button quick enough.
Can you explain, for safeguarding reasons, what she meant when she said doing her son's bum?
I'd already warned them that I might have to leave early because I was expecting someone to, but it wasn't. The funny thing is, it wasn't even him, it was a postman, which is highly amusing. But yes, and my wife went, oh, I didn't realise people were listening. Well, what do they do when you're... It's amazing how much the microphones pick up, you know, that sort of side of it. So, yeah, home working, it's real life, isn't it?
Yeah, it sucks. It absolutely sucks. I hate remote learning. As a teacher, absolutely no. Sooner we get back to normal, the better. But unfortunately, we've got at least another 4 weeks of it before. I don't think. Who knows when we're going to be back in school? I don't know. But it doesn't work. It does not work. But that's my rant over for today. Right. The other thing that happened on Tuesday evening that I alluded to there, that is more important, I think, than beating Bristol Rovers in that trophy. Rochdale picked up a point at Charlton.
Yes.
Which means we have fallen into the relegation zone. We are level on points with Rochdale, but they are a goal better off in goal difference. So it's safe to say that after 20 games, we are in a relegation battle.
Yeah, I think it's very safe to say. It wasn't a surprise, was it? You know, to be fair, it sounded a cracking game at the Empty Valley. It sounded cracking, do you know what I mean, with a 4-4 draw. and was it Rochdale to the lead? 2-0 or something, or I think it's 2-1, 3-2. That sort of side of it. It's a weird game. It's like the Plymouth game. We had a 4-4 game. It's a shame we fans miss it, but it's a good result for Rochdale because, like I say, we got beat 5-2 at Charlton, didn't we? So we know what a difficult place it is to go. But yeah, it could have been worse. But we're starting to look upwards. It's not a surprise. Our form hasn't been good enough. I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing, but we've had a bit of a break, obviously, with Wigan Athletic testing positive. Not them, but the players. But we now go into a run of 3 weeks with Saturday, Tuesday. So we are going to either pick up points very quickly, or we're going to sink very quickly. Big couple of weeks.
Right. I am a bit of an idiot. What's happened to this Wigan game? So it was meant to be on the Wednesday and it's been postponed, but it's not been rearranged yet.
No, but we will end up, the way it's going, we'll probably end up playing the away fixture for Wigan before we were supposed to play the home fixture.
Well, that's what was just confusing me because I was looking ahead, and yes, on the 6th of February we are due to play away at Wigan. So we have that. That's a big game currently given their situation. But Stu, quite right. The Saturday, Tuesday. Does it carry on for a third week into February? It does. Saturday, Tuesday. We host Sunderland. Yeah, we host Sunderland this weekend, and then the next 3 are all away. Portsmouth away, Crewe away, Doncaster away. Not a particularly happy run of fixtures. This is it. Sunderland at home, Portsmouth, Crewe, Doncaster, and then we end the month against them, and we'll talk about that one closer to the time. It's hard going.
Yeah, it looks tough. It's always the same, isn't it? When you're winning games and playing well, you don't actually mind playing. You don't mind playing the games, but all of a sudden, when you can't pick up a point for love nor money, then it becomes difficult, and every fixture looks more challenging. You've got to look at Crewe. We also got beat by a late goal by Crewe. Pompey doing okay, although it's not going to be the fortress Fratton Park. That's one thing. Normally when we go there, it's a bit of a difficult place for us to go. But yeah, obviously going into a game against them. Then the home game against Ipswich, we've got to pick up points. I know, so we've got to probably try and win our home games if we can, and pick up something on the road. But you've got Swindon below us who are playing okay. Wigan, you have to see whether their takeover goes through, and then they spend some money. That could be a difference on there. But there's also when you look at the clubs above us, like the Bristol Rovers, who are gonna shift, aren't they? Shrewsbury, Northampton. It's going to be. I think this season I didn't really want to be in a relegation fight simply because it's probably this second half of the season, if it continues, is going to be absolutely horrendous because there's going to be games being called off, short notice, play. It's just going to be messy.
Where do you stand on recruitment now, given that we have fallen into the bottom 4? We have had some player movement already. As we mentioned before, Connell Truman recalled by Birmingham, as they recalled Steve Seddon as well earlier on. We brought in a goalkeeper. Now, we mentioned this, didn't we, earlier on the podcast a couple of weeks back? We talked about what we'd like from the year, and I said, you know what, I just want a goalkeeper that we can call ours as opposed to keep loaning players in. We've gone for another loanee, so we've not entrusted Nick Zanev with the number 1 spot. You wonder how long he will want to continue playing second fiddle to whoever comes in. Sam Walker is with us now. He's come on loan from Reading, very experienced in the Football League. He's 29, but he looks a lot older than that. I think he might be lying about his age. He might have knocked. I reckon he could have easily knocked a good 10 years off his age, and can't get away with it, unlike some people. But 29, he does not 29. Give over.
The interesting thing that Glenn said, actually, when he was interviewed, I think before obviously the Bristol Rovers game, was that he said he gave us a bit of experience. And it's interesting, he comes in, he's now the joint top oldest player, if you want that award, with Luke O'Neill, still can't hit the 30 bracket. So we are young. We're a young team, and a young team going into a relegation fight is tough. I still stand by the fact that we shouldn't be spending any money. So if we're getting a loan in, I'm happy with that as long as we get a decent deal on the loan. So the parent club pays the portion of the money. As long as we do that, it's fine. So if we get some nice loans, fine. But I don't really want to. I know Roscoe's obviously left for Wales.
That's it, yeah.
But the thing is, our hand may be forced because of potential news that we understand that Ollie Palmer might be struggling.
Yeah. So, oh dear. So Roscoe has gone. He's gone to TNS, and we've got a decent sum of money for him, as you mentioned. That leaves us with Piggott, Palmer, and Longman as our strikers. Ollie Palmer posted on his Instagram the other day that he suggested that he was picked up a knock, or has picked up a knock, and he was not happy about it. And then his Instagram has since pictured him attending the Harley Street Clinic, which was, of course, famously set up by our former loanee, John Harley, which may or may not be true. Probably isn't true. But yeah, who knows what that situation means for us? It means we've got no backup strikers. Who can play up front? Can Chislett go up front? Can Rudoni go up front if we need to?
They're not really forward players, are they? But you potentially could play a one or a two in behind a main striker. But I think we both agree Joe Piggott plays better with a partner rather than playing on his own. It does leave. We've been fortunate enough with injuries, so we haven't picked up any major ones. Luke O'Neill, but it looks like he's on his way back now, doesn't it? But it would concern me if we go in with three forwards and we potentially got an injury, bearing in mind that we are going to be playing games very close together. Saturday, Tuesday, we just said. So I think we've got to resist. I just worry what the season's going to look next season. I worry what it's going to look like. We've got to be careful. We can't keep spending money. But if we use our contacts and loans become available, then that's good. But there was something I was going to say. The loans from the championship clubs might become more challenging because they can name 9 players now on the bench. Can still only pick 5, but they can name 9 players now. So that might make it a little bit difficult for the players that they might have loaned out, but they might need to fill the bench up.
And in other player news, Terrell Thomas on social media in the week in hospital picked up a viral infection, not COVID, as far as we understand, but something that needed treatment. And we wish Terrell a quick recovery. Hope he's okay. I think he's all right. I think he'll be okay. Bit of a scare, but yeah.
You have to think of it if he had a viral infection or whatever that was, that's probably going to take it out of him quite heavily, especially as obviously he was admitted to hospital. So could be a little while before he's back, but the main thing is that he's well and in a good place.
If I was to offer you the choice, you have to pick one or the other, Stu. It is invest in the squad to attempt to avoid relegation, or do not invest in the squad and accept relegation. Which of those would you choose?
I'd go for the latter, but I probably wouldn't put the wording as accept relegation. I suppose it would be knowing that a risk is a risk of relegation, because there's no guarantee that we spend money and stay up, and there's also no guarantee that we don't spend money and go down. Do you know what I mean? I think there's a long way to go this season, unpredictable. So I probably would go with the latter if you gave me a choice.
Yeah, I think we've said this many times on the podcast, and again, we won't go down this rabbit hole once more. Relegation from League 1 to League 2 is not the end of the world. And I think for 1 year, we might just have to take it. I know people say it's difficult to get back out. I'm not so sure, really. There's lots of clubs that have yo-yoed between the two divisions over the years, even just in the years that since we've been back in the Football League, just 10 years we've seen clubs.
Yeah.
And we all know the Northamptons and the Oxfords and people like that. Crew have done it. Doncaster have done it. Teams have yo-yoed back and forth. Famously, like back in the old days, I mean, Luton used to do it. I'm thinking teams like Port Vale used to do it all the time. So it doesn't concern me. It's not the end of the world. It really isn't the end of the world. Longer term, given the state, I think we're going to be in a few years, as we said last week, we're going to be in a few years of financial uncertainty as a country, arguably as a continent, but Brexit, I guess, means that we don't care about the continent now. It's all about our own country.
Lock the tunnel.
Leave means leave. But no, in all seriousness, we are going to have financial problems, not problems, but uncertainties. But we've got a brand new stadium, doubled our capacity that we can take in. We're still going to be guaranteed big turnouts for the bigger clubs when they come down. New ground always gives more interest to opposing fans. So I think we'll be fine in the longer term. If it means taking a hit in the short term, we take it. We take a hit. We can't just keep throwing money at things. We've done this in the past, and it's not really always been the best thing. So maybe we just take it, and we try and not catastrophize it as if it's the worst thing ever. And of course, you don't want to get relegated. And yes, I talk about big clubs coming down. You might have fewer of those if you go down to League Two, but then it is what it is, isn't it? And then conversely, you've still got clubs that could come up from the conference that could bring big followings as well. So,
yeah, I think, you know what, if we were getting relegated and we were still stuck at Kings Meadow, then I'd have concerns because we've got no way of, League Two at Plough Lane and League Two at Kings Meadow is two totally different things. If we were in League Two next season and we were allowed fans back in, you're right, it would impact our finances? No, we still would get the finances. The sponsorship deals might be lower, but they still might be lower in League One because people will afford that money. I just think it's prudent to be careful. In an unpredictable economy, why take risks? Why take risks? It's more important. We've got loans to pay, we've got financing, stuff like that to do. So let's just be careful. And if it means relegation, hey, it means relegation. But I don't think it's guaranteed. And like I say, spending money doesn't mean we stay up. So spend money, go down, worst situation.
It's difficult to comment on the rest of League One at the moment because, as I said, I'm not really paying much attention to it to know. I know, Stu, you went through some of the competitors or rivals in terms of going down. You expect Bristol Rovers to be okay and start to motor away. We're looking at maybe Swindon, Rochdale, Northampton, Shrewsbury being the ones that we're competing against to stay up. Hey, look, the thing is, what I will say is Rochdale and ourselves, we've been here many, many times before. We know what's involved. We know what it can be like. I do think we are facing not having fans back in stadiums at all this season now.
Yeah.
So I think that also will play a role in certain instances. I don't think we can deny that one. I mean, it's just but we also know, having been here before, there's still 26 games to go. There's still so much can happen. We'd all but resigned ourselves a couple of years ago to going down, and we got out of it very late on. So no need to panic. And as we said last week, again, I'm not entertaining talk of the manager at all at this moment in time.
No, there's no point. There's no point. We gave him a contract. He's doing a job he should do. If he gets relegated, I still would stay with it. It's not about keeping with what you've got, but we just haven't got the money to keep throwing away for recruitment, and we need to have some sort of. We were fortunate to have Neil Hardy for 6 years, and I know people think that was probably 2 or 3 years too long, but it gave us that stability. You look at some of the other clubs that have no stability whatsoever, and the only thing that's going to, for us, if we do get relegated, stability will bring us back up. You have to remember when in the great times when Wimbledon went through the leagues. They did get relegated from Division 3 to Division 4, and that it was accepted, but didn't sack the manager. Started again. Youth players were coming through. Continuity. Let's do that. Let's not panic. I hate panic.
No, and I don't want to see it. And also, relegation does not mean your manager leaves, as so often seems to be just people assume this is the natural state of things these days. I think that's come from the Premier League. Sadly, I think Norwich got relegated last season, but they've still kept their manager, haven't they?
Definitely, and let's not forget, right? Glenn hasn't had any manager in this league has had literally like managing with one arm behind their back, no control over fixtures, no control
not literally.
Over no.
Well, he might have been.
He could do, but it's like judging someone's performance on totally different set of criteria. It's just the managers have got such a tough job, and the fixtures are changing, back-to-back fixtures, players not being available because of COVID. There's so much. I think it's just really unfair this year, and I think we should respect our manager and stand by him. And yeah, I won't listen to any. I think it's stupid. I think it's a panic. There's no point in doing it, and Glenn's doing a good job. Let's keep it going.
It is Sunderland on Saturday visiting Plough Lane. Lee Johnson's the manager now. They are a few games. I think they're a few games behind their rivals in terms of going. Oh, are they? No, they're not really. Actually, when you look at the teams in the playoffs, blimey, when you look at this league. So Sunderland are currently 10th. They played 19 games. They've drawn their last 3. They're 3 points outside the playoff places. The last playoff place is currently occupied by Accrington Stanley, which again perhaps throws questions towards you and I about our feelings on spending money and budget, which it's not the be-all and end-all as Accrington are proving. But Sunderland, let's just keep focused on Sunderland. Lee Johnson in charge. They should be just getting out of this league. But the same could be said for Portsmouth. The same could be said for Ipswich. The same could be said for Charlton. There's so many clubs down here now. They've drawn a lot of games. 9 draws out of their 19 games. That's been their that's what's kept them in this league, hasn't it, for the past couple of seasons? They draw so many games. They just need to somehow develop a winning mentality. The managers, you suggest with the manager they've got, they should be able to. The squad they've got, they should be able to. They're just suffering from what we called in our non-league days the cup final effect.
Well, yeah, but this season shouldn't be that, really, should it? Because they're not getting the pressure from home games. 30,000 fans is great, but it's not great when you're not performing. And equally, they're not getting the away games. They've got no fans there either, and no pressure on them in terms of. Because I think a big support does bring pressure in certain ways because they so much want to be in the Championship and eventually the Premiership. So you sort of, in a way, the way the league's looking doesn't surprise me because the teams that normally historically struggle because of their fan base are doing okay. Sunderland have got a hit for eventually. Obviously, we played them recently in a 1-1 draw when they had a very much depleted team. So we know of each other. It's a tough game. It's a tough game, but we've got to start winning games at Plough Lane, haven't we? And why not start with Saturday?
Do you predict us to win on Saturday?
No.
Do you know what? The thing is, Sunderland unbeaten in 4, we're winless in 6. I could see this.
A draw.
Laugh. I can see it being a draw. I can, and I know I've said Sunderland with their 9 draws already. I can easily see this being a nothing game and a really tight, just a typically tight affair. Nothing much happens. A bit of a slog in the freezing cold because the weather has turned, and I can see us cancelling each other out, which would be fine.
Yeah, and we're probably going to try. It might be a 4-4-2. We're running out of centre halves at the moment, aren't we? So Will Nightingale and Daniel Shoker played on Tuesday night. I don't really see much of a change, really. So we're probably forced into playing two centre halves. But it may work for us. We played better against Bristol Rovers, but they made 8 changes. You can't make much of it. You can't read much into that game, really.
Well, we shall see. Updates from that game will be on Twitter, of course, at 9YRS Podcast, and you can watch it if you so choose on iFollow. I think season ticket holders will still get their free pass emailed to them.
Yes.
If not already, they will do either today or tomorrow. And by today or tomorrow, excuse me, I mean Friday or Saturday. There we go. Right, before we move on, Stu, to a couple of things, I would like to reference some comments made on the Wombles Had a Dream podcast. If you have had a chance to listen to that podcast, check it out. Womble's Dream podcast on Twitter. Stu, I think we all know what I'm talking about here when comments were made on that podcast this week, which I think I must address. Sam Elliott talked about haircuts. I am in trouble. I am in big trouble.
I was noticing that, mate.
Hairdresser's not open and probably not open for a number of weeks now. Oh, my word.
You can still buy gel, though, mate, or buy a comb.
I have combed over to flatten it because there's so much of it. I can't. It's going to grow out, and we could be in man bun territory by the end of it. We could be.
Terrible.
Just throwing it out there. So Sam Elliott, who was on the Wobbles Dream podcast, I hear you. We're all in the same boat. Well, not all of us, obviously, Stu. Sorry. With respect. Sometimes there are advantages, and these one of them. So yeah, quite annoying. Hair is a big problem. Do you know who had a big problem 20 years ago on this weekend, Stu?
This weekend, I haven't got 2001.
2021 years ago. Then sorry. Wimbledon FC, big problems. And it's now time for our game. What do we think? Zach Robinson this day?
This day? And by the way, just to again, the Wombles Had a Dream podcast. References made about Lyle Taylor. I dispute those. But Lee Finch has got a love-in with Zach Robinson. Lee, he's a kid. Leave him alone. He's got a love-in with Zach Robinson. He was like, what do you say? He's on a par with Ollie Palmer in terms of, I don't know, not ability and stuff. Well, let's hope Zach Robinson isn't paying a visit to Harley Street as well. But you win nothing with kids.
Just quickly on that one, by the way. Alan Hansen has never been able to live that one down. I'm just going to throw it out there. If a pundit makes a controversial comment, then they are rightly going to get stick for it. I'm just going to leave it at that. All right? If they're in the public eye.
Yeah. If there was Twitter around them days, Alan Hansen would be in trouble, wouldn't he?
We'd be absolutely slaughtered. Purely because he said something that proved to be, didn't turn out so well for him. Anyway, leaving that one there, parking that one there. Zach Robinson on this day. Year 2000, Stu. Last week we did the year 2000 as well. I asked you about a cup tie at Fulham. Now, I don't think you're going to have any memory of who we played on the 15th of January in the year 2000. It was a Premier League game. It was away from home. I don't think you're going to have any memory of this, but it's an interesting occasion. So we were in trouble. We were falling down the table at this point, and we played. Have a guess. Who do you think we played?
Coventry.
Well done. In 15th of January,
Am I right?
Highfield Road, we played Coventry City.
Because normally when you get beat by the cup, you then play a team you don't want to play normally. And that would be Coventry in them days. So Highfield Road, what a great ground.
Oh, I tell you, this is why.
Love Highfield Road.
Coventry City is a study in how progress is not always what it's meant to be, or not what it's cracked up to be, because they should have just stayed at Highfield Road, and they'd have been so much better for it, and we'd still have one of the great grounds of English football. Unique, different look, different atmosphere. Very glad I got to visit it before it was knocked down and they moved out. But yeah, we lost 2-0 to Coventry on this day. And have a guess who scored their goals. 2-0 was the score. We lost 2-0. Who do you think scored? 2 separate goal scorers.
Who played for... That's a tough one. I'm trying to think who played for Coventry in that season. I can remember certain strikers like John Williams, Robert Rosario.
He was a bit closer, but the other ones were way too early.
See, that's what I mean. I remember sort of them strikers. John Williams used to be a postman, apparently. Way off topic. Robbie Keane played for them as well, didn't he? I can't. Was he Robbie Keane?
Robbie Keane scored 1.
And Darren Huckabee?
No, it wasn't Darren Huckabee then. It was...
He played for them, though, didn't he?
He did, but I think he'd left by this point.
Cool.
The other goal was scored by Gary McAllister. It was a penalty.
Right, okay.
It was. And he went on to play for Liverpool after that. I think their other striker at the time was Cedric Roussel, if you remember that Belgian striker. I think he was Belgian.
Yeah.
Striker.
Of course, Gary McAllister missed the penalty, or had a penalty saved in the Euros, didn't he, at Wembley by David Seaman?
He did. He did indeed. That famous game with the famous Gascoigne goal. This 2-0 defeat then, how many shots on target did we have in this match?
After getting beaten in the FA Cup, probably in that third round, I would say we did well to have... Shots on target, you say?
Yeah. If you think about it, the answer's easy.
Well, we didn't score, did we? So I'm going to say absolute zilch.
0. No shots on target. Their goalkeeper at the time, who was... I was about to say Marcus. I want to double check that I've got that correct. Magnus Hedman was the Coventry goalkeeper, and he was not troubled for the duration.
There's only one goalkeeper that I always love from Coventry, Steve Grusevich.
Yes, and he was on the bench that day.
Best goalkeeper.
Can I
tell you a funny story about Steve Grusevich?
Sure, yes.
When I first went to Plough Lane.
Go on.
Hello. I used to do that. When I went in my first years at Plough Lane, I never forget, they used to call him Jane Fonda, Steve Grusevich, because he used to go out of the area and he used to literally do like one hand on it. You know, like when you touch your toes and you jog around and that sort of stuff. And he'd then run and then pretend he was going to jump, and he wouldn't jump. You know, and he was such a good goalkeeper in terms of just made fun of himself. I like Steve Grusevich.
He was on the bench that day. And Neil Sullivan was a goal for us. Well, really, to be honest with you, Stu, there's not very many interesting questions I want to ask you more about this game. We lost 2-0. But I wanted to read you something very interesting from the BBC Match Report.
Okay.
In which it says, Wimbledon manager Egil Olsen and coach Mick Harford both failed. I'd have said, personally, if I was writing this report, I'd have said both Wimbledon manager Egil Olsen and coach Mick Harford failed to attend the post-match news conference. None of the Wimbledon players would comment on another sorry performance. So we did a bit of a media blackout on.
Love that.
It must have been a woeful performance.
We haven't done that as AFC Wimbledon. We haven't done that, have we? We haven't refused to go to a media conference.
No, not to my memory, not to my recollection.
Not that it makes any much of a difference when there isn't any at the level we were playing at.
No. We might have to ask those that were in charge. Was Charlie Talbot in charge of the press back in the CCL days under Terry Eames? We might have to ask whether Terry... Well, I'm just putting it out there. If I was to look at our history of managers, if anyone was going to miss or have some choice words in a post-match interview, probably going to be Terry. It's not going to be Neil Ardley, let's be honest.
No, definitely not.
No. So there we go. That was Zach Robinson Missed Day, a little throwback to when we were really, really bad in the 99-2000 season and ended up getting relegated. Just a note to cheer you up. Jane Fonda, by the way, used to be married to Ted Turner, who was, of course, the owner of WCW before it was soundly destroyed by Vince McMahon's WWF around the turn of the millennium. And I'm currently enjoying watching back late 90s WWF when they had characters and people were invested in them. It's a sad bygone age. Anyway, that's me talking nonsense again, but I had to get a wrestling reference in there because it's been a while since we've had one. Don's Trust Board, very quickly, Stu, just wanted to touch on this one. They've set out some priorities for the year, which were on my screen. But my Wi-Fi is terrible and it won't load. So talk amongst yourselves, listeners. We'll edit this out because clearly we're having some... Right, here we go. Come on. Right, here we go. So, priorities after a meeting on the 5th of January. And I'm just going to... The main bullet points here are that the clubs are going to be committing to a strategy review, covering areas such as community relations, growth and ethos, structure and governance review, which will assess the changes required to improve effectiveness, operational success and oversight provided by the various boards of the club and trust. And then finally, refinancing the business plan, develop options for refinancing or loans, and for managing exposure under Plough Lane and Don's Trust bonds. And, depending on emerging plans for the further expansion of the stadium, the committee will also consider options for raising additional finance. That is on both the Don's Trust and the official AFC1.co.uk website for you to have a look. But that is excellent communication from our newly reconstituted board. I say reconstituted in terms of we've got new members on it after the election in the end of last year. But yeah, that is excellent communication and very promising. Sounds like we've got everything organised and under control, and I'm very happy to see it.
Agree. I thought exactly the same.
So happy days. Well done all involved in that. I think that's the end. Of this week's show, Stu.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's a difficult one, isn't it? It's just trying to get yourself up for like...
I struggle to get myself up in the morning.
It will get better. We'll have more games to talk about and hopefully more wins.
And yeah, that is it. Thank you very much for joining us. Bit of editing to do this week, unfortunately, because of my horrendous Wi-Fi. And I'm going to call out Virgin Media once again for their sub-optimal service that they provide. And also I have to edit out all those racial and sexual slurs. Stu, you've really got to stop with those. Thank you very much for listening this week. Stu, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Alexa Bliss, bag first, milk last, 2 + 2 = 4. We will speak to you again next Friday.